On October 30th, 2020, content creator No Egg Craig decided to step away from his comfort zone. Usually known for his cooking videos, this time he opted for a radically different experience, a solo camping trip in the middle of nowhere. An experiment that, in retrospect, he wishes he had never filmed. At first, everything goes according to plan. Craig sets up his tent, prepares dinner, and waits for night to fall under an apparent tranquility, until the darkness dictates its own rules. Inexplicable crunching and rustling sounds begin to break the silence of the night. Although the YouTuber tries to calm himself down by assuming it is just the local wildlife, the atmosphere becomes suffocating. He takes refuge in his tent, but the true nightmare was about to be unleashed.
Hello? Anyone there? Someone there? Who's there? Hello? Someone there? Okay. That's not. What? What's this? What the?
From among the shadows of the bushes, the unthinkable emerges, the silhouette of a man hidden behind a disturbing clown mask. Without hesitating for a single second, survival instinct kicks in and Craig flees desperately, managing to get to safety by a very narrow margin. Who was that individual and what were his intentions? The answers were left behind in those woods. The only certainty is that a simple camping vlog transformed, in a matter of seconds, into an authentic real-life horror movie. There are moments when the isolation of nature stops being peaceful and becomes deeply disturbing. This was exactly what English Woodsman experienced, a British creator accustomed to documenting survival challenges and extreme camping in the forests of the United Kingdom. On this occasion, his plan was to spend the night using a low-cost shelter, but the environment had a sinister twist prepared. The first half hour of the footage progresses routinely. The YouTuber sets up his camp while interacting live and direct with his audience, broadcasting every detail in real time. However, with the arrival of midnight, the live signal turned into a double-edged sword.
So I'm trying to sleep and I always like get a flash of light on the tent. If you look back on the live stream that I did, I showed people a reaction of someone in the, the trees with a torch walking backwards and forwards. I don't know if it's someone who subscribed to my channel who may be local and he's trying to find out where I am, trying to scare me a little bit, but I've seen the light flash now over my tent area. So we're going to get out and have a little look, see if I can see the light. The problem is my battery is only on 16% because the live stream flattened it. I'm not enjoying it, I think it's rude. Told you. It's like they're looking for someone. Oh, get down a bit. That must be someone who's seen my live stream, who knows where I am. See, lights there now. Gotta be looking for me.
Through the gloom, the cameras capture a lonely silhouette wandering among the undergrowth in the early hours of the morning, with intentions that seem to go beyond a simple night walk. Although the creator later theorized that it could have been a follower who tracked down his location through the live stream to play a prank on him, the coldness of the images makes that hypothesis fall short. Fortunately, after several minutes of tension, the mysterious presence vanished into the thicket and the night ended without violence. Despite the final calm, the record leaves an alarming aftertaste, undeniable proof of how exposed one is when the line between the digital world and real danger becomes blurred. On January 10, 2022, the channel The Facts shook the internet by publishing a disturbing recording. According to the platform, the original footage was sent anonymously by one of the film's own protagonists. With hardly any data regarding the exact location or background, the images need no introduction to convey absolute fear. In the shot, two young men are observed resting next to a campfire in the middle of a dense forested area in North America. The nighttime atmosphere seems peaceful, until a heartbreaking, thunderous roar completely dismantles the tranquility.
Fue enviado por uno de los acampantes involucrados. No se dio mucho contexto, pero lo que están a punto de ver habla por sí solo. Las imágenes muestran a dos jóvenes sentados cerca de una fogata, probablemente en algún lugar de Norteamérica. Todo parece normal hasta que algo profundamente perturbador rompe el silencio.
Hey! That was not an elk. Get my keys. Oh, get ready.
Everybody, get in my truck.
From the heart of the blackness, an imposing shriek emerges accompanied by a series of blunt, violent impacts against wood. The most alarming part is not only the power of the noise, but how the source of those thuds advances by leaps and bounds toward the camp. The recording cuts off abruptly at the exact instant panic takes hold of the young men. Since its dissemination, theories have not stopped multiplying. There are those who attribute the phenomenon to local wildlife, suggesting the bellow of a moose. However, the frequency of the scream feels too artificial and deep to fit an animal. Nor does it keep the cadence of a human voice, and the nature of those mysterious impacts breaks any conventional logic. To date, the enigma of that night remains intact. But this fragment stands as a suffocating testimony that, sometimes, the worst dangers of the forest are not seen, they are heard. Ian is a content creator whose channel has registered massive growth in recent months due to the honesty of his approach. With a close and authentic personality, he has been documenting for some time the challenges of living and sleeping inside his own vehicle to get ahead. However, what began as a chronicle of urban resilience came close to turning into a tragedy. In the first minutes of the footage, he is seen outfitting the interior of the car, installing new lights and placing blackout curtains on the windows to shield his privacy a bit. A routine video that, hours later, while he rested in the parking lot of a McDonald's, would transform into his worst nightmare.
What's going on? What's up? What's up, man? What's going on? What are you doing? Hey, bro. What's up? What are you doing, man? Ain't weird, bro. What the hell, man? Sorry, guys, my light's on. Oh, man, I'm shaking, dude. I had my whole setup. I was sleeping back there, dude. Oh, man, he tried to open my door. And then you guys saw that. He wasn't saying anything, man. Dude was a freaking zombie, dude. I don't even have my glasses on. I can't be driving. Oh, I gotta get to a safe spot, guys. I was parked right over there. Man, I'm still shaking, dude. That was insane. And this guy I just heard like a hello. I was sleeping, and then this dude grabbed my door handle, man. I don't know where he went.
Following the disturbing intrusion attempt, a visibly shaken Ian starts the engine in a hurry and flees the location consumed by panic, seeking a safe refuge in the early morning hours. In the epilogue of the recording, the YouTuber himself confesses before the camera that this has been, without a shadow of a doubt, the most terrifying episode since he adopted this lifestyle. Luckily, the incident did not go beyond a major scare and Ian turned out physically unharmed. Nevertheless, the rawness of the scene remains as a silent but devastating warning about the real dangers and the absolute defenselessness to which those who make the public streets their home are exposed. On May 26, 2025, footage was disseminated that easily qualifies as one of the most baffling and disturbing records on the platform. It all began when a man named Ray ventured into a wooded area with the sole purpose of monitoring the local wildlife using a night trail camera. After spotting a deer in the surroundings, he selected what he believed was the ideal spot to fix the device. As dawn broke, Ray returned to the site to retrieve the equipment. At first, the inspection raised no suspicions, barely some subtle environmental noises while testing the sound. However, the true horror manifested when he sat down to process the sequences captured under the mantle of darkness.
Found a deer trail. Look where it goes. So I, parked down that way, walked up here. It keeps going on up there. And I want to look up that way of the trail. So I think the perfect spot would be right here. This good old spot. And just look straight up there, and if any deer come walking by, I'll catch them. So I need to get the trail cam and set it up. And we got her. So here's the trail cam. Got it set up. It's facing over there perfectly. But I've got a nice little treat for you guys. There's the sound recorder. Okay. So I'm gonna have the trail cam going. I'm also gonna have the sound recorder going. I'm gonna listen to the audio first, and then the trail cam, just to see what we hear and then what we see. Because that's kind of the fun, to hear something and then see it later.
The recording first shows a baffling scene, a pig and a cow parading before the lens, animals completely foreign to the dynamics of that deep forest ecosystem. But the bewilderment transforms into pure panic seconds later, when the camera captures a shirtless, visibly disheveled individual crawling erratically along the ground while wielding an axe. The gravity of the matter escalates to a higher level with a detail that Ray himself revealed later. That very morning, while removing the equipment, he spotted that mysterious subject loitering just a few meters from his position. This confirms that the stalker remained within the perimeter for hours, sharing the same space as him. The motive for his presence and the reason for his weaponry remain an indecipherable enigma. The only evident thing is that this filming is the perfect reminder of the speed with which a natural and peaceful spot can mutate into the setting of a real nightmare. Crossing the limits of the underground always implies a risk, but what you are about to see takes audacity to an extreme level. The person responsible for this record is a content creator known as Omega, who took on an implacable challenge: to spend the night in the longest abandoned tunnel in New Zealand, a dismal structure that stretches for more than a kilometer of absolute darkness. As he ventures into the depths of the rock, he locates a spot to set up his improvised camp. After having dinner and feeding his dog, the instinct of exploration pushes him to venture even further into the gloom in the late hours of the morning. It was at that precise instant when the stillness of the underground broke violently.
Nerves are really starting to kick in now. What? I want to be spending a night in this thing. Oh no. I don't know about this, guys. What the freak? Oh no. Here it is, everyone. Spooner's Rail Tunnel. It was built in, there we go, 1891 to 93. And man, look at the length. 1,352 meters. This is the longest disused rail tunnel in New Zealand. I don't know how far I'm gonna go into this thing. I've got to find a place to set up camp though somewhere, and it has to be in the tunnel, so I'm gonna venture in. From what I remember, there are little manholes throughout this tunnel. Okay, before we even go into the tunnel, as you can see, it's totally pitch black. It's too dark to go in there without any form or source of light, so that's the next thing we need to get out of the pack. Oh, there's my baby. This is my massive dolphin torch. It's a really good torch, as you can see. This thing will do the trick, I'm sure. Alright, Max, you ready for another adventure? Let's start wandering into this dark, gloomy tunnel and find a place where we're going to camp it out for the night. Let's go back in. Here it is. Woo! Max! Oh, my gosh damn tripod. I hear some sort of tune. Max, come here. Come here. Oh, shit. Oh. Max. Who's that? Who's that, Max? What the actual? Can you guys hear that? Oh. Max, where is it? I don't know if you guys can hear this on the camera, but there's something. What is that? What the? Hello? What is that? Max, what is that? Hello? Is there somebody here? That's just creepy as... What the hell? Is anyone here? What is that? Oh! Max! Hurry up! Max! Max! Get home!
The disturbing sequence leaves questions open as to whether it was a prank in terrible taste or a much darker threat. Among the channel's audience, The most supported hypothesis points out that it could have been a resident from the outskirts aggressively protecting their territory to scare off the intruder. Whichever the case, the panic was so real that Omega abandoned his equipment and opted to take shelter outside, waiting hidden in the elements until dawn. Fortunately, the YouTuber managed to come out of the situation unharmed. Nonetheless, the footage remains stored in the Internet archives as one of the most suffocating and chilling camping incidents in memory. In the autumn of 2020, urban explorer and content creator CJ Faison published a piece of footage that sowed deep anxiety among his followers. The goal of the day was to venture back into a thick forest that he had already explored in the past, a setting that, as he himself warns upon turning on the camera, held a background too hostile to be taken lightly. The journey toward the designated coordinates begins with an evident weight of nervousness within the team. During the first half hour, the expedition progresses routinely, but as the trees become denser, the silence of the surroundings turns heavy and suspicious.
That we are setting out on does have its dangers. As most of you know in a previous video, this one area that we were in has a very high crime rate. And it seems a little weird because it's mainly in the countryside where the crime rate is. And the reason for that is it's a little easier to do business, illegal business, off the beaten path where really no one is paying much attention. You do that stuff in the city streets or, you know, in the Walmart parking lot or something, it's probably not going to go over very well. You're probably going to get caught. That is why this area is very, very sketchy. It is known to have drug activity. It is known to have bad things happen to women. It's a very, I'm not looking forward to going back to it, but the reason why we are going back is because a lot of you commented on the video, you sent us screenshots and were like, CJ, you got to go back there. First of all, it looked like there was someone around a tree right here. That's actually, we've got this picture like screenshotted to us like almost 100 times. And also, a lot of you said that I did not open the zipper on that laptop bag looking thing. Stay right here. Move. We're gonna die. Dylan, don't move an inch.
Better get your ass out of here now!
Oh my, Dylan, don't move. Dylan, stay right there. Stay right there. Don't stop. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Oh, we're sir? We're literally leaving right now, okay? We're not. We're not trying to trespass. If we're trespassing, I do apologize. We're going to turn around right now and start walking away. Motherfucker, go.
The premise of a camping trip is usually elementary: disconnection, shelter, and isolation. However, when the sunlight extinguishes, the outdoors often manifests unforeseen facets. On occasions, danger adopts the form of indecipherable noises that stalk from the blackness. On others, it materializes in the presence of strangers whose intentions are far from peaceful. This latter part was the harsh reality that struck CJ Faison. Luckily, the fact that the recording is available on YouTube is the definitive proof that he managed to bypass the threat and make it out alive from that thick territory. Grizzly Gaz is a British content creator focused on bivouacking and survival, who usually ventures into nature accompanied by Fendi, his faithful French bulldog. His catalog includes dozens of journeys marked by extreme weather and total isolation. However, during an expedition through the woods of the United Kingdom in April 2023, Gaz experienced a human anomaly far more disconcerting than any environmental risk. At first, the day progressed idyllically, chopping firewood, setting up the shelter, and preparing dinner next to the campfire as evening fell. The stillness was absolute. What occurred next fell outside the initial record. From among the blackness of the trees, the silhouette of a man dressed in jeans and a coat emerged, unexpectedly requesting provisions. Even though the exchange maintained a certain superficial cordiality, the stranger's attitude raised the YouTuber's alarms. His speech was erratic, his ideas disconnected, and his balance unstable, denoting clear alteration. In the course of the night, the individual, who identified himself as Martin, confessed to being homeless, dealing with the aftermath of addictions, and wandering without direction through the thick forest. However, the most disturbing instant of the evening was about to materialize in complete silence.
Right, we've got steaks on go now. Bit of ribeye, pot boiling for some mash, and I've got a visitor. Creeped up behind me asking me if I had a light. I shit me pants. This is Martin anyway. I don't know him, but he's stopping for a steak, so
just some random creep wandering about.
You went round here in a poncho a couple of months ago, were you?
I don't think I was.
Turned round to cut some firewood up, so I cut a couple of logs up, and when I turned back round, he'd gone. I just found that really strange. I'm on my way back to the camp to collect my trail camera and see if that random smackhead came back during the night. Trail camera's gone. That's where it was, on this tree. So my gut instincts were right, weren't they, to leave.
Without a single word, without goodbyes, and without the slightest crunch of leaves to betray his steps, the man simply vanished into the gloom. The void of his departure left Gaz in a state of justified paranoia. The uncertainty of whether Martin would return under the cover of the early morning, potentially hostile or accompanied, was an unacceptable risk, considering additionally the value of the exposed photographic equipment. Determined not to tempt fate, he aborted the mission and packed up camp ahead of time, but not before camouflaging a trail camera in the perimeter to audit the site in his absence. Upon returning the following day, the true trigger for panic was not hidden in the memory card's files. The finding was far more severe. The surveillance device had been ripped away and was no longer there. Gaz assumed that the danger had dissipated with Martin's nighttime withdrawal, but the theft of the camera proved that the stalking remained active behind his back. A disconcerting lesson that the worst mysteries do not always vanish into the darkness. Sometimes, they stay watching you from the path. Are you enjoying this video? If so, take advantage of this pause to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you can keep enjoying more terrifying videos like this one. Now, let's continue with the next case. Since 2017, hiker and YouTuber Phil has recorded his extensive journeys along the legendary Appalachian Trail through his channel Hike Slam. His content usually offers technical tips, equipment reviews, and solo camping chronicles. However, on the eve of Thanksgiving 2021, Phil published a record that completely broke the tone of his channel, sowing deep alarm among his audience. What began as a conventional night hike in the woods of Virginia led to a descent into the macabre. At first, the journey remained within the margins of routine, with Phil portraying the sober stillness of the winter environment. Nonetheless, Normalcy began to fracture when he started noticing plastic waste and containers arranged artificially at the edge of the path, all of them covered with disconcerting handwritten inscriptions. The first findings consisted of stanzas of poems and song lyrics meticulously transcribed before being discarded. But as Phil ventured into the heart of the reserve, the messages abandoned lyricism to turn hostile. The same unmistakable handwriting was beginning to express persecutory delusions about federal agencies mixed with what appeared to be fragments of criminal confessions. Shortly after, he would stumble upon the most alarming sign of the route. The disturbing correlation between the found objects and the texts left no room for coincidence. Someone was deliberately littering the path. Keeping a prudent distance, Phil spotted columns of smoke emerging from an active campfire a few meters away, next to a tarpaulin. The author of the writings was still within the perimeter. Seeking to neutralize the risk, the YouTuber advanced toward a hiker's shelter. On the way, he was intercepted by two visibly shaken women traveling with a dog. They asked him if he had crossed paths with a subject who was littering the forest with sinister missives and dead animal remains. Faced with the evident threat, Phil agreed to escort them back to their vehicle, to then resume his route in the opposite direction, attempting to locate a safe area to spend the night. Upon reaching a second shelter, the tension seemed to subside. He lit a fire, prepared his food, and tried to regain his calm. However, the truce lasted short. Upon checking the shelter's logbook, the log where hikers sign and share trail incidents, Phil discovered that the trail of madness had already arrived there.
The weirdness continues. What the hell? There's a dead duck here. And it looks like it was just put here because it's not wet. That duck is fairly recently killed. Alright. Kind of creepy. I hang out by the fire. Almost every shelter on the Appalachian Trail has a shelter log where people write in their trail names and what's going on. They can write whatever they want in there. So it's kind of cool tradition here. So let's see what this one says. Alright, let's see what's happened recently. Holy crap. Wait a second. Well, I'm gonna adjust the camera here. This writing looks almost exactly like the writing that was on that garbage a couple of miles from here. In 2018, while I was incarcerated at the Okaloosa County Jail. What the heck? I figured the following out. Refer to Isaiah 28:15 through 9. Alright, I'm going...
The pages were saturated with increasingly dismal texts, incoherent monologues about isolation, prison confinement, and biblical passages quoted in a distorted manner. Upon inspecting the structure, Phil located one final and explicit warning: a plastic container suspended from a rope with a note displaying the same erratic stroke. The phrase was lapidary: "Beware of the mouse. The dead keep walking and talking." The creator shut himself inside his tent, trusting that dawn would arrive without mishaps. Nonetheless, the atmosphere became suffocating when the sounds of footsteps began to encircle the shelter. Upon peeking out, the cameras captured a silhouette wandering in the absolute blackness, a solitary individual equipped with a headlamp inspecting the area in circles. Without the slightest intention of finding out if it was the author of the notes, Phil dismantled his camp in strict silence and undertook a tactical retreat. He walked for hours under the protection of the night until reaching his vehicle, watching his rear after every single step. Phil managed to return safely. Almost 3 years later, in October 2024, he returned to the very same shelter in order to investigate the identity behind the manuscripts, a follow-up piece that expands this mystery brilliantly. It is possible that those texts were the venting of a mind fractured by illness, or perhaps Phil dodged a tragic outcome by mere minutes. What is indisputable is that this footage stands as one of the most documented and chilling outdoor survival testimonies of recent years. Phil's notes suggested the presence of a silent and psychological threat lurking in the shadows. However, not all dangers of the forest announce themselves through riddles. For our next protagonist, hostility manifested in a direct and loud way. Two intoxicated, violent strangers just a short distance from the tent where his family was resting. Now we delve into the archive of Restless Wanderer Backpacking, a backpacking veteran who accumulates more than 8 years sharing his passion for hiking, fishing, and outdoor life on YouTube. His content is usually a space dedicated to technical disclosure and the peaceful contemplation of natural environments. Nonetheless, during Memorial Day weekend in May 2020, a family getaway in the mountains of Colorado completely derailed, becoming one of the most hostile scenarios he has ever had to manage. The first hours in the woods passed under an apparent normalcy. The camp was fully equipped to guarantee the comfort of his family. A large-sized tent, portable heating systems, and even an independent shower station. Tranquility seemed assured, until the early morning of the second night broke the idyll. At 4 a.m., the roar of an ATV traveling at high speeds along the adjacent path interrupted the family's rest. In the beginning, the incident seemed to remain a simple acoustic nuisance. Nonetheless, the true alarm went off minutes later, when the engine returned and stopped dead on the exact perimeter of their camp. From the outside blackness, a man in an evident state of drunkenness began to utter insults and threats. The subject, dominated by anger, was located just a few meters from the fragile nylon barrier protecting the family. A female voice did not take long to join his harassment, raising the tension of the scene.
They're 2 miles away. I know. I told you this is not cheap.
No, stop. They can find you. Let's stay here.
The couple began to wander erratically around the place, arguing with each other and aggressively demanding jumper cables for their vehicle. Upon receiving a negative response, the hostility escalated drastically. The aggressor directly confronted the father of the family, raising his fists in a clear attitude of physical provocation, while the woman verbally attacked the mother. Just inches away from the conflict, the children remained inside the tent, trapped in an absolute and terrified silence. Fortunately, the altercation did not lead to physical aggression, and the couple ended up withdrawing from the place. Despite the outcome without injuries, the experience remained recorded as a severe warning that outdoor threats do not always come from wildlife or the weather. For this experienced backpacker, that remains the most disturbing night of his career. Irrefutable proof that the human factor in nature can turn out to be the most erratic, violent, and unpredictable element of all. For filmmaker and urban explorer Jasko, the nature of danger defies any conventional definition. In the depths of the so-called Devil's Tramping Ground, the line between a human threat and an inexplicable manifestation completely vanishes. Recognized on the platform for recording some of the most disturbing incursions into abandoned complexes and exclusion zones, Jasko usually pushes the limits of the unknown alongside his route companions. However, this thick territory in the United States, marked by a history of violence, strange deaths, and unresolved disappearances, stands out as his most cursed destination. On September 16, 2025, Jasko and his friend Chris ventured into the heart of the wooded branch. Although the expedition initiated under a mantle of apparent normalcy, the environment did not take long to close in on them, orchestrating one of the most suffocating nights of their lives. While walking a path alone, the explorer heard with total clarity a voice pronouncing his own name. The initial bewilderment transforms into panic upon confirming an inescapable fact: Chris was half a kilometer away in the opposite direction. What was stalking in the thicket was about to fracture the filmmaker's sanity. This was not the first anomaly Jasko had documented within this perimeter. Years ago, during a harsh winter, he camped in the same sector alongside his friend Ben. In the middle of their rest, the crunching of footsteps on the frozen snow altered the calm on the periphery of the tent. Seconds later, a heartbreaking shriek that reverberated through the entire valley forced them to leave the shelter. Upon inspecting the area, they discovered recent marks printed on a log on the surface of the frozen lake. Human tracks that sprouted from nowhere and cut off abruptly, defying all physical logic.
I just heard my name being called from down the trail. But Chris is in that direction. Chris? But if he's down there, then... What the f***? Yo! Who's down there? Hello?
Scottish. Someone's coming.
Oh! Ben! Ben! Yo, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. What? Look on that log right there. Holy... Ben? Those are feet prints. Look at that. What? No. Chris?
Yo.
Chris, did you hear that?
Yeah, what was that?
Somebody just break a fucking window? What was that? What was that?
That was so loud.
Something there?
I don't know.
But Chris, what would make that glass noise?
I don't know, that's what I'm wondering. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense.
Is someone out here like messing with us? No. Chris! That was a gunshot. That was a gunshot. Did you see anything?
There's a light. There's a fucking light right there.
Whoa! Oh shit!
What is that? There's somebody out there?
What the fuck? Yo,
what is that?
Yo, there's someone out there. There's someone out there.
There's actually someone out
Yo,
there.
what the fuck? What the fuck? Hold on.
What the f?
Bro, is there someone out there? Bro, that's a light. That's a fucking light. It's moving. Chris, it's moving. There's someone outside the van right now.
Why? What are they doing? There actually has been somebody here the whole time.
What the fuck? Bro, if they have a gun, and we're fucking hearing shit.
That winter enigma never found an answer. Back to the present, after experiencing the bewilderment of the voices, the team was about to collide with the most aggressive facet of the forest. Just as they were preparing to spend the night inside their vehicle, the sharp crash of breaking glass resonated outside. However, upon auditing the damage, all the windows remained intact. The sabotage was psychological. The climax of the nightmare would be unleashed moments later. Through the foliage, moving flashes of light began to trace a containment pattern around the van, confirming that a presence had them completely cornered. Faced with the imminent risk, the survival instinct overrode any protocol. They abandoned the equipment and fled barefoot through the blackness, running without looking back until leaving the forest miles behind. The debate between whether they suffered cult harassment or a paranormal phenomenon remains open. What is irrefutable is that Jasko has defied the devil's tramping ground on 2 occasions, and on both he was forced to escape to preserve his life. Jasko and Chris's flight exposes that, sometimes, withdrawal is the only option for survival. But what happens when withdrawal is impossible? What do you do when danger materializes in your only space of refuge? That was exactly what Brendan experienced, when the flash of unfamiliar headlights and the echo of heavy footsteps surrounded his van in the middle of isolation. The next testimony leads us to the channel of Brendan Explores, a British creator dedicated to documenting the benefits of nomadic life, gastronomy on wheels, and the exploration of hidden spots aboard his camperized van. His content usually radiates the serenity of back roads and the charm of budget overnight stays. However, during a stealth camping foray next to the waters of a lake in Wales, the disconnection transformed into a deeply disconcerting experience. The instant unfamiliar headlights ripped through the gloom, Brendan understood that his position had been compromised. The YouTuber's initial plan consisted of executing an undercover overnight stay on the shores of the lake, seeking to pass completely unnoticed. After preparing his dinner and outfitting the vehicle, he prepared to rest, trusting in the isolation of the environment. It was at that moment when a luminous flash began to filter through the windows. The unknown vehicle advanced slowly until stopping just a few meters from his position. What followed next would break any expectation of safety. The echo of heavy footsteps began to surround the bodywork. Without uttering a word and wrapped in absolute muteness, the intruder began to deliver blunt thuds against the side panels of the van, alternating the impact points as if seeking to force a reaction or confirm whether the cabin was occupied. Keeping a cool head, Brendan opted for total immobility, refusing to reveal his presence until the stalker finally withdrew.
See headlights.
Who the was that? They just drove off. Didn't shout anything. Didn't ask if anyone's in here. Gave a couple knocks, shone the light in, and drove off. Shit. I thought someone would come back then, Jesus. What do I do? What do I do? Well, that's one hell of a wake-up I've ever had one. Jeez.
Despite the truce, the hostility of the night had not concluded. Around 3:30 in the morning, a second vehicle, this time a truck, burst into the area. Although this segment was left out of the visual record, for nearly 15 agonizing minutes the engine remained running, projecting its front lights directly into the interior of the cabin. No one descended from the car. No one emitted a single sound. Brendan remained static in his bunk, debating between the need to flee or maintain his camouflage. When the perimeter was clear, the psychological toll was already irreversible. Although his tone before the camera tried to reflect control, the aftermath of insomnia and anxiety was evident. His mind was trapped in a loop, processing the impacts, the footsteps, and the blinding flashes that had violated his refuge. It remains a mystery whether it was an intimidation tactic by local residents unhappy with campers or a threat of a darker nature. The only certain thing is that those peaceful Welsh shores transformed into the setting for his most suffocating day on the road, a night where the true danger was not on the map, but lurking right on the other side of the sheet metal. To close this chronicle, we move to the Channel Camper Vibe, a space led by Emily and Louisa, two creators famous for their van journeys and for documenting the restoration of an old stone property with 2 centuries of history. However, in early 2023, Louisa decided to pause the construction tools to undertake a radical experience, a solo camping trip in the strictest intimacy of nature. The chosen destination was Deering Woods, a thick forest located in the vicinity of Pluckley, officially listed as the most haunted village in the entire United Kingdom. The first hours advanced under a predictable script. Louisa suspended her hammock between the trees, lit a campfire, and prepared a rustic dinner while the twilight devoured the landscape. But as the last light of day extinguished, the forest's atmosphere completely mutated. The distant singing of nocturnal birds was replaced by a disturbing uproar, heartbreaking shrieks that chillingly mimicked a child's crying. Although she tried to rationalize the situation by convincing herself that it was local wildlife, the frequency of the noises abandoned any natural logic. She remained next to the embers with her senses on maximum alert, processing every crunch. By that time, it was evident that the surroundings manifested an activity totally foreign to the forest's routine. Seeking a breather from mental exhaustion, Louisa finally retired to rest in her hammock. It was then, near 2 o'clock in the morning, when the panic became physical. Breaking the murmur of the rain and the distant echoes of civilization, the clear sound of slow, calculated footsteps began to approach her position. Paralyzed by uncertainty, she opted to keep the lights off so as not to betray her exact location in the vulnerability of the elements. The rhythmic walking circled the camp, vanishing into the blackness only to reappear minutes later. After hours of siege, the conclusion was unequivocal: that was not an animal. Sometime later, gathering enough courage, Louisa inspected the perimeter under the gloom, but the thicket did not return any visible silhouette.
Sounds like kids screaming. That's just a train. Is it a bird or is it kids screaming? That's a bird. That's a gunshot. I don't know if you'll be able to hear a lot of this, it's pretty distant, but it sounds like kids screaming. Honestly, I've never known a woods with so many strange noises. It's not just your normal birds and stuff and planes, there's a lot of planes. There's like this weird... well, I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm tired, so I'm going to let this burn out in a bit, sit here and enjoy a fire for a little while and then, yeah, head to bed. The hammock's really comfy, thank God, so I should sleep well, I would think. What the fuck is going on? Just realised I left my axe out. Now if there had been an axe murderer wandering around, I've literally handed him his weapon of choice.
With the first flashes of dawn, the balance of the day was one of absolute exhaustion. In front of the camera, the creator confessed with a cracking voice that it was the most frightening night of her life, admitting that, even under the protection of the sun, the echo of the footsteps kept resonating in her mind. Nevertheless, the true retrospective shock arrived when reviewing the camp in the morning. Louisa discovered that she had left a hand axe completely exposed next to the trees. Had there been an intruder with hostile intentions lurking in the darkness, she herself would have provided him with the ideal weapon to attack her. Although Louisa managed to return to her routine unharmed and firmly maintains that she does not believe in paranormal phenomena, the identity of the presence that besieged her refuge that night remains an indecipherable enigma in the archives of Deering Woods. From silent intruders knocking on the sheet metal of a van to auditory mysteries that defy all logic in the middle of the thicket, these stories prove to us that the true danger of solo camping does not always come from nature, but from what hides in its shadows. Which of these encounters did you find the most disturbing? Would you dare to spend a night alone in any of these places? Leave me your thoughts down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey through the darkest side of the outdoors, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next footage, and share this video with that friend who claims they are never afraid of the dark. See you in the next real-life horror story.